got a Pokemon in chat. People care about that, want to catch it. Like hit with an Ultra Ball. But yeah, so big time just behind the scenes. Carolina just scored a goal. So that's very exciting. They tie this game up 1-1 in this important right now. The Rangers found themselves up 3-0 in this series, but Carolina won the last one in Carolina and now have tied this game up with 16:27 left in the third period. So that should be very exciting. We'll be watching that all night as well. With that, I'm going to bring in Gil, and then we can talk a little bit of playoff hockey action with him. How are you doing tonight, Gil?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think we're gonna pretty much go straight into the podcast. So I'm gonna get that all prepared here. The kids are finally in bed. Takes some time with them, but I'm happy to be here. The Boston game is right now 100-91 with Boston up, and they're up 2-1 in that series with 4:45 left in the fourth quarter. But Cleveland just made a bucket, so they cut it to 7. So we'll be watching that game as well. Let me type out the episode information. So this is Sports OTHP episode 3. What is it? 341. NBA and NHL playoff live games and updates. And we're gonna put that in this field too. All right, let me just make sure all these settings are correct, and we will start the podcast in 1 second. Good if I spelled things right. All right, sports and updates here on my timeline, and I'm always going to check to see if I can still do it from our show page, which you should be able to do, but it's not there. All right, my own timeline. I'm just gonna make it public. For now, it will automatically force to friends only, but whatever, we're gonna go with it. Welcome to episode 341, Sports on the Hill podcast. We're talking NHL, NBA playoff live games and updates. We're also going to have some DMV sports talk as well. I'm going to check to make sure that we are live streaming both, I believe, right now on Facebook and on Twitch. I'm also going to record on this computer
Recording in progress.
the backup option. So welcome on in. Just double checking to make sure all the settings and everything is recording correctly. We have Gil joining us in the co-pilot chair for this segment. Gil, how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for having me on again, and good to talk hockey, even though our Caps aren't in it anymore. But still good to watch some NHL playoffs and lots of good action to discuss.
Yeah, exactly. Just doing a little quickly an update here just to they don't let me tag people when you go live through Zoom, so you have to tag them after the fact. It's always fun. Talk NB. So the plan, I'll read it out loud. Gil and C4 are going to talk hockey, and Arun is going to talk NBA playoffs. And then we're going to have Ken, DC's People's Champ, talk DMV sports with us. And that's going to include a lot of topics tonight. We've got two baseball teams, the Orioles and the Nationals, we'll talk about. We'll talk a little bit of soccer. There was a hat trick, which is a popular term in hockey as well, for the DC United, and a big time win for them. Unfortunately, every week that DC United wins, then the Defenders lose, and the weeks the Defenders win, then it's like a tie or a loss. So we can't get both of them to win in the same week, it seems. And unfortunately, that happened again this week. The Defenders had an unfortunate loss. And it looks like, is it Kuzi just score?
That's who got it.
Well, so we're not talking Capitals, but we're talking about the Capitals payroll.
It
So that
technically, yeah, we're still paying him until July 1st. So
yeah. So is it just this year that we're on the hook for? Because and there,
yes. Oh
yeah,
no. He's his contract with us expires end of next year. So
yeah. So I think we
no,
have to
that's in
pay.
yeah, it's actually through next year, not it doesn't end this year. Mantha and Edmondson's contracts end this year.
Oh, that's good at least. So, um, uh, I'm just writing some text here, and then finally. People can see behind the scenes into me creating the podcast on the podcast. Why not? So yeah, I'm excited. So we've got Gil right here. We're gonna bring in C4 in just a second. We're gonna talk some hockey, and then in about 30 minutes or so, we'll have Arun join us. We'll talk some NBA playoffs. And then after that segment, maybe about 30 minutes later, we're going to have Ken join us, and we're going to talk about all those different topics we talked about before. So, yeah, it should be interesting. Oh, we're also talking wrestling in addition to the UFL, MLB, and MLS content in that last segment. Carolina did just take the lead in this game. It's now 2-1 with 12:55 left in the third. And so I know that we've got some fans of both teams that have been on the show. It's funny, we've had kind of fair and balanced coverage of this series. 2 weeks ago, we had Scott on with the Rangers. And then we had E Flat Guy last week along with his uncle, Eddie Brown Music. So it was fun to have both of them on to talk hockey last week. The VOD is still up. We celebrated 3 years affiliate if you missed that show. And it's also on the YouTube. You can go to Robbie Gross, one word, smash it together on YouTube. You can find me there. Also, sportsothp.com has the links to the latest podcasts. I know that Gil did do a final podcast about the Caps, right? And that's up on your channel, or are you still?
Actually, it's not up yet.
Okay.
I'm still putting it together. I hope to have that sometime this week.
Got it. Got it. Okay, well that's good. So you can catch that one. The last one with Anna is up though, so you can catch that one if you missed that one on the channel. So go to sportsothp.com, click the podcast partners button. You can get the Power Play Point podcast. Also, Ken will be on later, DC People's Champ. You can get the No Spots podcast there as well. Also, click on the Team Sports OTHP button, and you can find out more information about all the socials of all the different podcast partners. And so that is a lot of fun over there. We've also been slowly trying to put all the archives of all the videos and content on there. I'm about a week delayed on that. So if you want any of the most up-to-date stuff, definitely check out the YouTube. So if you click the socials button on sports.thp.com, you can go to the YouTube also at the top there. You can get all of them broken down by topic. So if you just care about hockey, basketball, or other sports, you can click on those videos, or you can catch us live on my Facebook channel. We've been broadcasting as well as my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Robbie G underscore sports OTHP. And welcome in to all the people on Twitch. We got Dreaming Truth, who was mentioning there's a big trophy and a bearded guy on the screen. Now I know Gil usually watches it on Facebook, but she is referencing Ovi holding up the cup, which I always put up when we're talking hockey, because that scene will never get old. The handoff, as it is, to the one Nicholas Backstrom, who's in the foreground about to receive the greatest trophy in all sports. And she's commenting about how it's a very big trophy in that picture. And it's true. It's Lord Stanley's Cup. It is, in fact, what these teams that are competing, the Rangers and Carolina, receive, and their names get imprinted on that forever. And then versions of the old ones exist in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But you're on there imprinted for many years until your band comes off. But they keep all the bands, I believe, up in Toronto through history as well. So yeah, if you ever want to, I've always wanted to check that out. So I don't know. Have you ever been up there, Gil?
It's on my bucket list. It's at the pretty much at the very top of my bucket list is to make the Hockey Hall of Fame. So, yeah, planning on getting up there and seeing that one day.
My
And
plan is not this
yeah.
summer, but next summer to make a road trip to Toronto, and that would be a part of that trip. I would like to do that. So that's sort of on my bucket list in a couple of years to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. We're gonna go all the way to Toronto and not go. Liz's question. Yeah, well, but anyway, she's also saying we want to go to Colorado next summer, which is true. We want to do both. Anyway, we'll figure out our summer plans for 2 summers from now later, not on the podcast. But anyway, it's great to have all of you here live on Twitch, also all the people live on Facebook as well. And yeah, so again, it's a close game right now in both games. Cleveland is right now down to Boston. It's a very close 102-97 with a minute 30 left in this fourth quarter. So we'll be watching some of that as well. I did. Yeah. Um, and so yeah, it's been a really exciting game. Boston's up 2-1 in the series. Obviously, it's a really important game here in Cleveland to see if they can tie it up. And again, this Carolina Rangers game, it's very close as well, with New York still up 3-1. But I really feel like if the Rangers lose this home game and it goes back to Carolina, they may have a game seven on their hands because I don't know. It would be interesting. It obviously changed things a lot in this series. But we'll be monitoring those as well as some of the other series as well. We're going to bring in C4 now because I want to get her thoughts on this series as well.
Okay.
And
I'm a little dark. Be right back. Gonna
there
turn
you
light
go.
on.
Yeah, no problem. And so yeah, I really appreciate anybody for tuning in and being a part of it. I know
Kane just got another one.
wait, what?
The Canes just got another
Yes.
one.
Nice. Oh, good. See, I like it when you tell me because it's like you're 5 seconds ahead of me, so I can now watch it.
You're like 30
Um,
seconds ahead of me, so
yeah,
I'm like,
Jordan Martinook, who's been cold this whole series, so good to see him get on the board for the Canes.
yeah.
That's a very good sign.
Was he the one that was injured? There was somebody that was injured
there he
recently.
goes. He just scored.
Yeah.
Like, you're like way ahead of me.
Yeah, we can now time it out, yeah, using timestamps.
That's okay.
Yeah, so it went around the end boards, but it was a good forecheck to knock it loose, pass out front, and it just they take away. So there's actually two canes right there, which I think really distracts Shizurkin. And he doesn't really know where who's going to get the rebound to know which angle to do it. And it almost sets like a pick play for him where he can't really see around the other guy. And a great goal. And 10 minutes left here in the third. Carolina's up 3-1.
Shot appeared to be high to the blocker side, which
Yeah.
if
His weak
there is
point.
a weakness, if there is a chink in that armor, it's there.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's the same place Kuzi, I think, knocked his in from, right? High right,
Maybe.
maybe.
I
Kuzi
just
was the
saw.
goal before.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Right, but she's saying it's the same spot.
I
But
think it was in close to the same spot, but
I
he
didn't.
was.
I just
I
saw the
didn't catch
celebration.
yeah, I didn't catch the where Kuzi had his shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was coming down the
It
right.
happened it happened too quick.
He was coming down the right side. Beautiful pass from whoever was on the other side. And Shesterkin was just didn't get back over quite fast enough, and he knocked it right in about right over his shoulder, about the same spot.
Hmm.
I caught the replay.
I don't know what just happened there. It was something out of play and then a question about something. So now you can
Looks like
check
a
it out and try to figure out
penalty.
right? It's very confusing. I don't know if it's a
I have
penalty.
it on mute. I can't tell.
Yeah, I can't
Couldn't
either.
tell you.
Probably put the closed
Okay,
captions.
that is sounds
Anyway,
interesting
we'll find
outfit
out
that guy
after
had on.
commercial break what's happening there. But let's talk about some of these other series real fast. And we'll talk about this the Boston Florida series, which has been really interesting. So Boston won that first game 5-1, during last week's podcast, and we were kind of like surprised by that. And we are like, what to really make of that? We weren't quite sure because remember, Florida scored first in that game. And we were like, oh, and then sure enough, it was basically it all fell apart for them after that Kachuk goal. Like they scored three more goals, Boston did in the second, and then two more in the third in that one. And I was like, ooh, maybe Boston will make this a series. And then they lose 3 games in a row. The first one is the other game in Florida where Florida wins 6-1, but then Florida goes to Boston and wins 6-2, and then a much closer game, a 3-2 game, but which that's devastating for the Bruins because in this game they were actually up 2-0 in this, and 3 goals in a row scored on them. They lose 3-2. And then they find themselves down 3-1 in a hole, and they got to go back to Florida. And now Florida has two chances to sort of knock them out. I'll start off with you, C4. What are some of your thoughts on that series?
I thought Florida was up 3-1. This is win or go home for the Rangers tonight.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Isn't
talking about.
okay.
Yeah, we're going through the other series. So,
Oh, okay. Never mind. Jeez. Ah, yeah, yeah.
so do you
We're
think that
talking
Florida
about the
will take care
Rangers.
of it?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I take yes, Florida will take care of business with the Bruins.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you think that it's over in the
I
next game?
have I they're in Florida next game.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Florida, it's hard to beat Florida in their barn.
Yeah. We saw that
Um,
firsthand.
it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So I think Florida's going to take care of
And they
business
already
tomorrow
got one in
night.
Florida. So the likelihood of them getting two in Florida is, because I know
Yeah.
they got
Well,
that first game, but I think
here's
it's going
what's
to be.
going on. Here's what's going on in that series. The Florida is playing with the clear physical edge, and the Bruins have zero answer for that.
Right.
And they just don't have anybody that can answer that kind of punch on their
They
team. They used to, they don't now.
mm,
And their scoring has dried up conveniently,
yeah,
and
they
that
were
that's the guts of it.
they were very much more of a skills team this year, I think, than they were a power or a physical team this year. Which served them well during the regular season, but playoffs are a whole different animal. And now with Marchand out, and he's one of their biggest hitters, and I think he's out. Is he out for the rest of the season? I think that's what I saw, or the
He,
rest of
He's
the
probably out through at least next game.
yeah. I think
yeah,
probably series, but probably season because of that. It's
yeah,
interesting because I think we talked about this last week, and I think Gil hit the nail on the head and said, look, Boston's taking advantage of the fact that they have this adrenaline pumping. They just got off of a big series and they're sort of rolling. And you got Florida, who's kind of napping a little bit, right? And they've got a little rink rust. And so you got the rink rust team versus the team that just came off of an emotional game 7 win, right? And so they took that into Florida and had a carryover game, but could it last, right? I mean, that's what Gil was
no,
talking about, and he didn't think it would, and he seems to be, spot on here. It didn't. So I do give credit to Boston for really pouring it on in that game 4 and really playing, but even in that one, they put all
yeah,
that energy into the first period and a half, and
yeah.
they couldn't
Well,
muster enough over the full 60.
yeah. My dad and I were actually watching that game. My dad's a Bruins fan. He grew up there in Massachusetts. So, so that's
Yeah, we
why
actually have
I,
probably more Boston fans of this podcast than we do. I don't know. I can't name a
yeah,
single
I was,
Florida fan that I know. So,
yeah. So that's sort of why the Bruins have now become my second team.
yeah. No, that makes sense.
But I mean, my dad, I mean, it was a medley, shoot the puck, shoot the puck. They were outshot 13-3 in the first period, 11-5 in the second period, even shots 9-9 in the third.
Well, when your
You
own
know,
crowd is
and
screaming at you to shoot the puck
yeah,
very loudly with 2 minutes
oh
to
yeah,
go, and you've got a
yeah.
6-on-5 and you can't
Well,
shoot the
the
puck,
puck,
and you're not
yeah.
scoring goals because
No,
you're
because
not shooting the puck.
right. Well, Florida was all over them too. But then I think that non-call on Ekblad kind of um screwed him up a little bit too, because Ekblad was holding him from the blue line all the way into the goalie. I'm like, how is that goalie interference when he is being pushed into the goalie by the
The,
guy who
the
has been holding him since the blue line? So, but that said, I don't blame the Boston fans for getting upset, because I mean, we would have done the same thing. It does not excuse them throwing stuff on the ice, though. That was
that's
that
just
kind of,
one of about a dozen calls of
but
that have been awful this whole series. The
yeah,
officiating has just been terrible.
yeah,
This is
but
probably
you
the
could.
worst officiated series, and that's saying something. The worst
Mhm.
of it out of the four that are going on right now.
Oh, I agree absolutely. I mean, even my dad was like, well, he and I were looking at each other like, What did they just call? Why?
Yeah, so I will give it just a quick scoring update because if people or Boston fans are sad right now, they should be happy because well, at least if they like basketball too, the Boston Celtics just defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers 109 to 102
I'm a
in that
Celtics
one.
fan.
And so there you go.
Have been since the days of Larry Bird. I don't watch basketball as much as I used to, but
Yeah, this
I've
is
been
a
a
big
Celtics
time
fan since Larry
win.
Bird.
Tatum had 33 on 11 for 25 shooting and 9 for 9, I believe, on free throws. A big game for him and a big win. They take a 3-1 commanding lead in that series. So they'll have an opportunity in game 5 to win it in Boston, but also in 7 if they need it. So that's, it's 3-1 leads are really big in any sport. Good for them. That will be big. And we'll definitely talk a little bit more of that in about 15 to 20 minutes with Arun. This game right now is still 3-1 Carolina over the Rangers. 5:15 left. We'll talk about that series for just a moment here now. C4. What are your thoughts on this Rangers Carolina one?
I'm liking what I see from Carolina right now. It looks like they have finally figured this New York team out. And I quite frankly think it'll probably, I think they can pull it out. I think if they win tonight and they go back to Carolina, I think they'll pull it out. And they
Yeah.
win in Carolina, I think they'll pull it out.
Well, no, that would tie the series.
Oh, well, it'll have to go to 7. Yeah, no. I
It'll
think they'll also win game 7. But I
be a
think,
lot of
yeah.
pressure on New York, who has choked game sevens before.
Hmm.
So I
I'm
find
like,
home game sevens a lot of pressure,
I
because you're
kind of,
expected
I
to
kind of
win.
like seeing Kuzi stick it to Laviolette, honestly,
That would be a great storyline. And Orlov, well, I
and
guess
Orlov.
yeah.
That's
Well,
how I see. I don't.
I don't remember when did Laviolette? Yeah, I guess he must have played for Laviolette in his first year, right, Orlov?
Orlov, yeah,
Because he moved earlier to
he moved
because
2
he went to
years
Boston.
He was
ago.
a
He
yeah,
went
he
to
was a
Boston 2 years ago. He was in Boston 2 years ago, and then he went to Carolina.
year
Yeah.
before this
No, 3 years
was
ago he went to Boston.
no, no.
No, it was 2 years.
Last year's trade deadline
Right.
is
Oh.
when he went.
That's right. And
Oh,
then he went to
okay. So he
Carolina
played for
this
us
year.
last
So
year.
yeah,
Okay.
he
But it's
played
just
for
it's been
Laviolette.
like now it's just weird because it's 2 teams now, so it feels longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he signed with Carolina in the
Yeah.
offseason.
I would love
Right.
to see them both win another cup. I really would.
Yeah.
I
I'm pulling
Not
for
that
the
I'm
Rangers
a
too.
particular Carolina fan, but I dislike them less than I dislike the Rangers.
Right. No, I totally get it. It was one of those things where I wasn't gonna be upset if the Rangers like steamrolled Carolina because then it would make me feel better about the Caps losing. But I also like it being like hard on them, go 7
Empty
and
netter.
maybe Carolina win. So
Yeah.
ooh, an
Quite
empty netter.
honestly, see, I'm at 344. I'm showing
Whoa,
it.
that's a crazy empty net goal though. That's
I'm
like
showing 344. That's how much time they just faced off. That's how
Uh,
far.
okay, yeah,
so
give it
it's
about 15 seconds.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but just holy moly, like basically they shot it
Oh,
from
there
the other
goes.
goal.
That's it. That's done.
Yep, and with 3:30 left, I mean, that was an early
Yeah.
pull goalie, but I understand why they did it because it's like just go for it,
Yeah.
try to find it. Wow,
Nikas.
what a shot, Dale.
Marty
That was
Natchez from about
Natchez. That was
170 feet
Yeah,
yeah.
from his own slot,
Yeah.
yeah.
right down the middle.
And there go
Right,
the
that's
Ranger
that's
fans.
hard.
They're
He'd be
all
good at like
leaving.
curling and stuff, right? Like just get it right
Mm.
dead center,
And it wasn't even like he was really shooting it. It looked like he was just trying to clear the puck. It just happened to be dead center of the ice, and
Yeah, uh, that
that was
that's
beautiful.
textbook right there. That's exactly what they want to teach you how to do. I don't know how you replicate that,
Yeah.
but
So yeah, you guys are about 15 seconds ahead of me then.
yeah.
But yeah, I think Carolina has figured out New York, and I think and Carolina, as we all know, is also hard to beat in their own barn. So even though New York did it, um, yeah, this series, yeah, I think Carolina pulls it off in 6,
I would
7,
be very
7.
surprised if this thing doesn't go seven games. If they don't
Mhm.
When they go back to Carolina, it's not another win.
Yeah, it's one of those things though in hockey. I've seen it where like they have such a big win here and then an emotional all the time at home. I can't count that out either. You know what I mean? Like so I wouldn't.
No, but this Carolina team is built differently than the Capitals.
Yeah. Oh no, there's no doubt that this
And
Carolina team is much better than our team is. I'm not. There's
yeah,
no
and
argument for that.
I think New York is finally they're starting to look a little tired. They're starting to get a little sloppy. They're starting to I mean, they don't look as sharp as they did early.
Yeah.
I
Well, there's
think
a
they're just
grind to the playoffs. So just because you're the President's
mhm,
Trophy winner, there's a reason. The curse does knock a lot of teams out in the first, round or two, but
yeah,
it's I mean, we call it the greatest trophy in sports because it's the hardest to win. It's such a
it is.
slog, and each
It is.
series is so different with so many different components that like you have to have a team that can like really kind of play at four different games to win four different series, right? I mean, even if you look back at our series in 2018 and how we won it all, we played
Right.
very different game against the Columbus than we did against Pittsburgh, and then once against again
And then against
against Tampa
Vegas and
Bay,
against yeah,
right? Tampa
Yeah.
Bay was
yeah,
a totally different, and then how we beat the Golden Knights was a totally different scenario in addition to that. So, I mean, you have to deal with injuries and potential goalie changes. And, there's so many things that go into winning 16 grueling games and the NBA has the same number of games you have to win, but it's not grueling in the same way. And it's not as fluky with the bounces and hot goaltending. So,
that's
like,
true.
you could get into shooting ruts and stuff like that. I don't want to say you can't, and injuries do play a huge factor. I think about the Knicks and how they were doing so well, but the injury bug has just
Right.
started catching up to him. But you know,
The Avalanche,
yeah,
Nisturkin or Nishniskin, whoever,
Nichushkin.
Nichushkin just went into the player assistance program, like
yeah,
like heavy duty, like he's not getting paid for 6 months and then he has to apply to get reinstated.
wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
so they just lost. I'm not going to call it a death blow, but they just lost a good chunk of
They
their
just
secondary attack,
hmm
which they're going to need if they hope to get past Dallas. Dallas has been, to my surprise, tougher than expected.
Yeah, they really have.
And yeah, they're proven to be something of a worthy opponent. Although I still don't trust them because they have been blowing leads late all year long.
Hmm
Um, and for the first 2, 3 games, that's exactly what they did this series. But if they play like they did in this most recent game, where they just pretty much slammed the door on that juggernaut offense in Colorado, they're probably going to lock it up in the next 2 games here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it,
I suspect Dallas is gonna pull that out.
I
Much
want to
as
go
I
through
would
that
like to
series.
see Colorado do it, I think Dallas is gonna pull it out. And honestly, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see a Dallas Vancouver final in the West.
Yeah. So let's go
And
through
with
this one in
Vancouver
that game
pulling it out.
a little bit, just because the Stars were up 3-0 to the Avalanche, and then the Avalanche, were able to score, three goals in a row, two in the second, one in the third, and then win it in overtime. In a crazy matchup that I was like, oh man, that's a problem, And then the next game was, potentially, even more wild. Dallas scores the first four goals, and then the Avalanche score three in a row, and you think, oh my God, is it going to happen again? And then there's an empty netter that makes it 5-3, but it almost did. I mean,
Hmm
it was an incredible comeback for the Avalanche to try to do that in two games in a row. But then, as Gil was talking about that last game for the Stars, that they scored first, it was tied in the second, but then Tyler Seguin scores two goals, but one of them's an empty netter, so it's still a 2-1 game with 18:23 into that third goal is scored in the third. So it's just in the
Yeah.
last couple of minutes there, and then they get another empty netter at 1932. So 4-1 looks a lot worse than it really was. I mean, it's still a very close game there. And then the next game is at Colorado. And that game's about to start actually here at 9:30. So we'll be monitoring the first period of that
Yeah,
live
it's a
for
yeah,
NBA
puck
coverage.
drop at about 14 minutes and change. a little under 14 minutes.
So that's an exciting series. Do you have any more thoughts on that C4 before we switch over to the other one?
Like I said, suspect Dallas is going to pull this out. I mean, unless Colorado again, that losing I can't say his name now. Losing
Val.
Val is going to hurt. I think it's going to affect them a little bit. So yeah, I hope Colorado plays hard for him, but I don't know, man. I think the way Dallas, like Gil said, the way Dallas is been playing, they might pull this out. And
We
Well,
have
don't
we
don't
have a
don't
special
discount
guest in
real quick.
chat. Ryan just joined, who was on last week, talking about how he thinks that the Rangers aren't going to win another game, and the trophy is curse is real. And Kuzi got the game-winning goal tonight, which is also a great point. So I'm happy that we kind of like somehow helping Carolina beat the team that we can beat.
there we go.
It's like one of those magic cards, like Curse from the Grave, just like, like we're still, getting them even, without, just doing it
Right.
through that. So we also the other series, which is the
Oh,
Oilers
you're
and
listening
Canucks.
in.
And so the Vancouver was it was they sorry, we got the first game, which was 5-4. The Canucks won that one, which was a really wild game because the Oilers were up 4-1 and they score 4 goals in a row, one in the
Because they
second.
sleepwalked themselves through that last period. They let Vancouver right back in it.
Yeah.
They literally just stopped playing and let them right back in it. So they allowed them to take game one.
Right, and then almost the reverse happened, where Vancouver was up 3-2 going into the third. Connor McDavid scores his second goal of the playoffs at 5:27, ties it up, and they actually win it in overtime, 5:38 into it. Evan Bouchard gets his second goal of the season. Draisaitl's 10th assist and McDavid's 15th assist. And they took a 4-3 lead. And then the last game, though, Oilers score first, but then 3 goals by Vancouver. Draisaitl gets them within one. Unfortunately, Lindholm goes up 4-2. I am kind of rooting for the Oilers. And then Evan Bouchard at 18:44 in the third, makes it 4-3. But by that point, it's too late for the comeback. But they do have one more game in Edmonton tomorrow at 9:30. Gil, what are your thoughts on this series?
Very, very interesting. It a lot is the discussion I'm seeing is focusing on the increasing physicality between these two teams, and Vancouver seems to be winning that battle. Now, unfortunately, it didn't serve them so well in the fact that one of their defensemen has been suspended for a game for some liberties he took at the end of that game. But I don't know. I didn't really like this Vancouver team. I didn't think they had enough to get past more than one round. But that coupled with the fact that Edmonton is being unfortunately exposed for two things. Well, three things actually. Well, two of these three we kind of knew about. Not good enough goaltending and a leaky defense. But the third thing we're seeing is that beyond Draisaitl and Heyman and of course McDavid, they don't really have anybody that regularly puts the puck in the net. Evander Kane has been quiet. They have next to no secondary scoring, and it's hurt them. And Vancouver acts like they're playing with house money, and they pretty much are because nobody thinks. I don't think nobody is counting on them to go pretty far, and so they're playing like they're the only ones believing in themselves, and that's very dangerous. So, but Edmonton's very capable of pushing things, but they need to figure out how to get more scoring, or Otherwise, it's going to be over in 2 to 3 games.
Yeah, they've kind of solved McDavid a little bit. I know he's getting a lot of assists, but he's not scoring at that same clip that we come to expect that he can do, and it'll just be interesting to see who the scoring really comes from in that series. I'm really just hoping that the Oilers would pull it off. I don't know. I just be interesting to see if Dallas does win that series. What do you think, C4? Who do you think matches up better against Dallas? If you're a Canadian fan and want a Canadian team in the championship, who do you think favors better against Dallas?
Oh, I don't pay as close attention to the West Coast teams as I do the East Coast teams, so that's a kind of a tough one for me. Um, I kind of have to. I can't answer that. I really don't know
No,
because I
I
just don't
like
pay
it.
enough
I
attention.
stumped you. All right, Gil.
I
So
just don't
Gil,
pay enough attention
I'll pass the question on to
to the
Gil to see
West
if he has
teams.
an
So,
answer. Gil, do you have a feeling of who you think is a better matchup against Dallas? If that's
Um, Vancouver plays pretty much the same style as Dallas. So they would probably be the better head to head. Um, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that how these two teams are making it as far as they can with very little star power. But then again, it's the NHL playoffs.
mhm.
It's not a league driven by star power. It's the best team that wins, which is probably why it's one of the reasons why it's so great. So I think I just answered my own question as how they're making it. So
Yeah,
I think they're going to make it a pretty good series if Vancouver does pull it out. I wouldn't count out McDavid just yet if he can find a way, because he has a way of taking over a game. If he can do that 3 times in this series, which I haven't seen enough of, but if he can find a way to do that, then different story, of course. But we just haven't seen it yet.
yeah,
yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
yeah. What Gil said.
What Gil said. Perfect. All right, I think we've talked enough of NHL. I do want to get C4's quick thoughts on the Hershey Bears. Were able to advance, and I love that we were able
Mhm.
to knock off the Flyers, and they were able to knock off the baby Flyers. It was, I think we were up 2-0 when we last left off, and then
Yes.
unfortunately lost game 3, but it was an
Mhm.
interesting matchup, and then game 4 was really exciting
Yeah, we
with
were watching
Mir
that game too.
yeah
My
Mirror.
dad gets down in Virginia. He gets the Monumental Sports Network, so we were able to watch that too. So we're
Nice.
actually flipping back and forth. We were flipping between the Hershey game, the was it the Boston? No,
Yeah, the
the
Boston
Boston
game.
game,
Yeah.
and a documentary on ABBA. That's what we were flipping back and forth
And
between the three.
it's an interesting
Don't
trifecta.
laugh. I like ABBA.
No,
One of my
Alba's fine.
I do too.
But
So
it's just
no
not like
shame
the
there.
other one.
but yeah, one of these things is not like the other. But yeah, it was quite the game. Um,
I can't believe Miroshnichenko almost got a hat trick, but I kind of like what he did on that last goal, jumping up and down, distracting the guy so somebody else could score. It's like
yeah,
it's
that was
not
pretty
on
cool.
paper, but like,
Yeah,
Not
I
quite the
went.
dancing queen, but yeah, loved his moves.
Yeah, I went back. I actually went back and watched the highlights. Just to. But that goal he had, his first one, that was sick.
yeah,
Oh,
That was
that was the
just.
breakaway. Yeah,
Oh
that
my
was nice.
God, that was sick. That shows me what he can do and what, given a little more time in Hershey, he'll bring to the Capitals in later next year. Um,
yeah, I agree. A little more
he
seasoning,
had,
and he'll be
yeah,
good.
he did. I think they brought him up just a little too early. So I
Yeah.
think going back, I think if he spends a little more time in Hershey, he'll be fine. But Lapierre's been a little quiet, but that's okay. He doesn't need to be. Again, it's the team. It's that, like you're talking
That's
about
what's
with
great about
Dallas and
hockey is the
Vancouver.
team dynamic.
It's a team thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got stars in Miro and Vecchioni and Lapierre and all these guys that went up to the big club, but they're playing as a team. They're not. it's like they came back in and they fit seamlessly back into the fabric.
Right.
So it's
Well, I want to speak to
they
that for a
didn't
second. What I
disrupt
think
the
is really
chemistry too much. You know what I mean?
what's exciting for me is they're a team that first of all won it last year. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
lose a whole lot of pieces except for some
Mm-mm.
to the Capitals, but and a lot of these players played up for different times in the season, so they had to learn how to have chemistry with lots of different lines, which is always really good thing to have because lines get thrown into a blender in the playoffs, right? And
Oh
then
yeah,
also not playing with these superstars and getting their skills ready. And then when you bring the superstars back, then the superstars don't need to necessarily be superstars. They can play even role playing moments,
yeah. It takes the pressure off a little bit, so they
yeah.
can go out and play their game and have fun and everything. And
I
you
love this
know,
opportunity for them that they could play. A lot of these players could play the NHL playoffs against, one of the top teams, get that experience, but then come
mhm,
back to the AHL playoffs and get both. I think that it's really rare in the NHL to have that ability, and a lot of
mhm,
teams, farm systems don't afford them this sort of, ability. There's a reason why we
yeah,
win so many cups, Calder Cups that is, and it's just exciting to see what that potential chemistry and what they're building down there, and how you could
yeah,
then bring it up later, and
yeah.
what it'll be able to do.
Yeah, we were hoping to be able to get to some round two games, but we're going to be in New York for Marcus' graduation. So, but I'm taking the computer because I got AHL TV, so we'll be able to watch
Nice. And
Nice.
on the
shout out to
computer.
Monumental Sports for carrying it all on Monumental 2, which is a network
Right.
that they usually have just a sign-off screen. And so, way to buy something to put it on something there that makes us a little bit excited for
Yeah. Well,
the
this was
people who want.
$30 and I can watch all of the games
Yeah,
because we were watching the Amerks and the Crunch too because
right.
he has friends that are
And the great
Amerks fans, and we were kind of rooting for the Crunch just to give them a hard time.
Yeah.
Well, here's the great thing. Here's their next matchup, round two. It's it's against the Hartford Wolfpack, which is the
It's just
Baby
the
Rangers.
Rangers. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I
So
know.
I
little
know.
bit
I'm
of an
like,
opportunity for
yeah.
revenge.
Yes. And it's a team I believe we played last year in the playoff run, didn't we?
I think so.
Yes. Yes. Because
I think so. I
yes.
actually think it might be the same round. Hold
Yeah, it had to be because we played the Amerks to get into the finals.
Yeah, hold on.
So yeah, so we
I'm
play
pulling up
Hartford. The Amerks
the bracket from last
play.
year's.
Yeah, hold on. Well, and I'll pull up this year's. Where's my AHL app?
Uh, yeah,
AHL, there it
Atlantic
is.
Division Finals. They won 3-0 over the
Yep,
Hartford Wolfpack.
swept them
Yep.
before that. Yeah,
Yeah, so
so
the
effectively round three, but Hershey's round second round.
right.
So
So
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much the same spot.
yeah, so that's kind of exciting. And
There we go.
yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there and some fun facts. But I'm just proud of the team, and hopefully they can continue their good play. I like that we have home ice. It's another best of 5 series. The first 2 games, I believe that one of them's on Thursday, the other is Saturday. Let me just make sure that's right. Um,
Our
yeah.
first game is
Yep, Thursday, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And then the other one's Saturday at 7 p.m. And then it goes to Hartford the following Wednesday. So there's a big gap in games, which they do in the AHL.
Yeah.
Then it's a Wednesday, Friday series over in Hartford. And then
Right.
if necessary, back in Hershey.
Right.
That would be a Sunday game, a 5 p.m. game.
Yep.
So if they goes to a game 5, you should go to that game. Is what
Yeah,
that
we'll
would be
just go from New York straight to Hershey. We're coming home
right.
sometime on Sunday.
Yeah, you should. It's 5 o'clock,
So,
why not?
oh,
So,
it's a 6 hour drive from there to here. I don't know what it is from Lockport to
I mean,
Hershey.
I feel like Hershey's kind of on the way.
They are. I think they are.
Nuts.
I think they shouldn't have
Kind
much
of.
of a problem. They
Ish.
shouldn't have a whole lot of problem with the
But
Wolfpack,
to
I
see
don't
if the
think.
game
But
5 in that
mm,
round would be an exciting game to go to for sure. I hope it
mhm,
doesn't make it that far. I hope that they sweep them. But
yeah,
if that happens, and that's the 26th. Is that this? I thought you're coming back the week before.
I stand corrected. Yes, we're coming back. Oh, Sunday the 26th. Yeah, we'll be around Sunday the 26th.
Yeah.
I
So
I have a girl thing. I have an all day girl thing.
go from
So
that to no, that's a 5 o'clock one, so you can't. But um,
no, it's at Ligonor Wine Cellars. It's their Caribbean fest. So me and a bunch of girlfriends are going to that. So
awesome.
yeah,
What day is that?
the 26th.
Yeah. So,
So
all right. Well, I think we've talked hockey and we got it in, and I really appreciate C4 and Gil for breaking it down on so you will be back next Sunday, so you could come on the show the following Monday, C4, or you have to take next
Monday the 20th. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
20th.
we're coming back the 19th. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you need me for
Yeah,
that
well, I
Monday,
just figured we
absolutely.
could talk about those first two games if you were around.
Assuming we get to watch them. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what our plans are while we're up there, but I'm taking the computer just in case.
Right. Sounds good. All right. Well, maybe we'll have C4 back on next week. Either way, Gil and I will break down how they do and talk about how all of these different playoff series finish up because I think most of them will be finished by then or not.
Yeah.
But there's a chance
That's
that is there a chance that there's another? Yeah. So there would be a game 7 between the Oilers and Canucks if it reaches that far that we
right.
could talk about live. But that would be the
Mm.
last game of this round.
Yeah,
All the way.
I tell you, one thing though, these games have been exciting to watch. They have been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
So
It's been a lot of fun for sure. All right, well, I will let you both go, but definitely I know Gil's working on that podcast, and you said that you think that it will be up this week, or are you still recording more parts?
Um, no, I think the recording is done. Just a matter of editing and putting it together. So, yeah, hopefully by this Friday at the very latest. It'll and it's so it's a something of a compilation. I got two longtime supporters of the show who basically came on with me and gave their thoughts as to how the season went and maybe one eye towards the future and maybe what they need to do for our Caps. So good to hear from those two. And yeah,
Can you
like I said,
can you give us a hint, or is it a surprise who the guests are?
well, one is well, they've both been on before, so it's no one new. Um, but
it's not me.
no, it's not C4 because she had stuff to do. But I'll give you one of them. Longtime supporter of this show, hadn't been on in a while. Stuart Small,
Oh, big time
who's
supporter of this show as well. So I
yes,
appreciate
Okay.
that.
always good for analysis and opinion and observation. So yeah, I got he's one of them. The other one's guy who's been on once before. Big supporter of the Facebook page, Paul Hackett.
Yeah.
Okay.
Met him at the game I was at. I forget who we played. But anyway, yeah, he's a big supporter of the show as well. So they both give their thoughts. Hope to post that by the end of the week.
Yeah, so definitely go check out
Excellent.
SportsOTHP .com and you can get all the stuff there. I'm gonna do the Gil command real fast and it's gonna have all the links. Blue Liner on point. It's Blue Liner 98 on Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week. And then you can also check out the Power Play
This
Point
hour of this
podcast
day.
on you can search for that Power Play Point podcast on Facebook, and it's got a great Facebook group over there. Also, click the podcast partners button on sportsothp.com and you get the latest podcast when it is posted there. And so like and subscribe on all of the different things for Gil's show. It's a great show. And it reminds me, I should really get Stuart back on this show because I know he's a fan of the Defenders too, and a fan of the Mystics who are coming back, and also of DC United. So he's a fan of all the different DC sports. So it's definitely someone I need to get back on this show.
Excellent.
Maybe I'll try to reach out to see if he can join. So just as a show note, I know I'm going to end the hockey segment soon, so it'll be a video clip of just this part. But I will note that next week will be one of our last episodes of this season of the spring season. And so we'll do a show next week. We're going to take Memorial Day off so I can go swimming with the kids and enjoy the pool and the day off. I made a deal with my wife that I would give her back Memorial Day and Labor Day, so that way I can have some Olympic coverage this summer. We're going to take 2 weeks and cover the Olympics in August in the middle of my summer break. And then
I'll be
but
watching the track and field for sure.
nice. Yeah, I'll have
Yeah.
different guests on. I would love to have you both on talking about
Yeah,
whatever sport
I
you're
ran
watching.
track in high school. Bradley ran high school and college track. He did
Nice. My dad
decathlons in
was a
college,
hurdler.
so
So, and I used to watch the Penn relays all the
yeah,
time going to school there. So,
yeah. Bradley did decathlons in college,
oh, wow.
so
Nice. That's
yeah,
awesome.
he was good.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have you back on during that coverage too. But then I will note that June the 3rd will be the last episode of the spring season as it is, and that will be previewing, and it could be the game one of the Stanley Cup Finals, and then we'll also be previewing the NBA Finals that I think will be starting later that week. So it'll be a preview show for both of those, and also a recap of the Defenders season, as I believe their last game of the season is played the day before. If not the last game, I know it's the last home game, but I think it is the last game. So we'll be recapping how their season is doing. It's not looking good. Spoiler alert right now. So, but we'll definitely go. I would love to go to that game the day before because the tickets are so cheap. And you said Audi Field was such a great experience. But I don't know. It's going to depend on a lot of things. I may last minute decide weather and things because
Mhm.
$10 is not a lot for a ticket, but then drinks and food and metro and
That's
you
where
know,
they get you. Well, the
there's a
Metro
lot
on
of
the weekend it's a Sunday, right?
it
Well,
is.
the Metro is only $2 each way on the
Oh,
weekends.
for no matter
Yeah,
how far you go.
Mm-hmm.
pretty
Oh, I
Free
much.
didn't.
Yeah.
Oh,
and free
oh.
and the parking's free. So
Parking's free. So
Okay, well
yeah.
that I
yep.
mean $2 plus $10. I still have to pay for some beers and some food, but you know we're getting in the range of maybe I might do it. So we'll
Just
see.
remember, you got to walk 1, 2. It's like a 3 or 4 block walk from the Metro. So
Okay, yeah,
just keep
I
that
like
in
that.
mind.
I'm not too upset about that, and
Well, I mean, if you have the kids.
oh, I'm not taking the kids.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
And yeah, no, that's part of the contingency is if I find somebody to watch them that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So we'll see. I may
It
have
probably costs more to find a babysitter than to go to the
right,
game.
exactly. Oh, for sure, for sure. My babysitter's like $20 an hour. So that yeah, it's
I
pretty
do it
rough.
for
So
free, but
yeah, exactly. I mean
that would
that's pretty
require me
standard
driving to
too, which is
Rockville.
just wild of
Actually,
people
I
that
would do it for
do.
gas money. You pay me 10
Right.
bucks for gas to get down to Rockville. I'll
Exactly.
watch the kids.
Well, no, I'd let Liz watch them, and I would just go even by myself, or maybe get Champ to come with me or something. And but we'll see. But anyway, that may happen, and we may talk about that on the last episode. So if not, we'll just talk about how the season goes. But it's been super fun talking to both of you. I'll let both of you go, and we'll
Thank
switch
you.
gears and talk about the NBA playoffs. But thank you
All
so
right.
much, T4 and Gil, and we'll talk to you guys
You're welcome.
next week.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Night,
Take
guys.
care. Good night. Bye.
All right.